Hey everyone, topic number 3 with Jonathan Twomley. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you, Michael?
I'm doing very, very well. So you and I knew this was coming, but there's a lot of vocabulary that I think is going to happen as the commercial market, hotels, multifamily, office, retail kind of work themselves out. And there's one word that I want the average investor to hear and appreciate what it is, and that is what's called a special servicer. Can you sort of define what it is and when did they come into play?
Well, so when you have a loan, right? You get a loan from the bank for a piece of real estate.
Mm-hmm.
It is then somebody has to service it. Now, some of the smaller banks, community banks, what have you, they keep these loans on their balance sheet and they service them themselves, which means they're sending you the bills every month. They're receiving your money every month. They're applying it towards that mortgage. They're calculating the principal pay down. They're doing all that sort of stuff. If you get behind, they're the ones who are chasing you to pay. That's what the servicer does. And now in some situations where you have, say, a lot of commercial property situations, the servicer is somebody else other than the bank, right? Mm-hmm. There are some of the banks are engaged in this servicing business. So like I had a loan from JP Morgan that was securitized and then it was serviced by KeyBank, right? And KeyBank had got some kind of a few basis points or whatever to be the institution that was essentially making sure the loan was getting paid. You have then what's called a special servicer, which can come into play in a number of different situations. So the servicer is just who's, dealing with the routine operation of the loan, right? Special servicer kind of sits above them and has more of like more discretion to kind of like make decisions about the loan itself, right? So for instance, I had to deal with special servicer when I was replacing my management company, right? So actually like the servicer didn't have the discretion to make the decision to approve it. It had to go up to the special servicer. Same thing as when I sold my portfolio, but the special servicer was involved in doing the defeasance of the loans, right? So, but normally you're not dealing with them. The other time that they come into play, though, is when the loan gets into trouble. And then the special servicer is the one who is in charge of the workout of the loan, right? Mm-hmm. So when you go into default, it's going to get kicked up to the special servicer or kicked over to a special servicer, depending on how this is being run. And the special servicer is now going to, because now this is like a different sort of skill set. The servicer is just literally servicing. It's like sending the bills, getting the money, it's really administrative. They have no discretion to do anything really. The special servicer is the one with discretion to foreclose, to rewrite the loan terms, to do like whatever they need to do, put it, kick you out as the operator and, bring in a receiver, whatever, they're the ones who are like the heavy who can come in and change stuff. Mm-hmm. So now I want to hear why you're bringing up this topic today, because what are you hearing?
Yeah, because
the chatter you're hearing.
Well, I'm hearing more and more about special servicers coming in. And New York was a couple of topics. So I think it's the Real Deal website.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. I go there, I check out New York, I check out San Francisco, LA. And there's now hotels that have gone special servicing. There's actually there's 7 multifamily assets in New York that just went special servicing. The auction is, I think, next week or something.
Interesting.
Right. And these were all value add Class A properties that just got caught in the whole rent strike, value add, half full. And they're like, I'm out. Right. And basically it's the mezzanine loans that caught them and just walking away. And again, I take that on top of what I saw. I think I reported on Monday, not all the big cities, but New York, Chicago, Seattle, Portland, LA, San Francisco, and I think one more, all had 20% rent drops in studio apartments. This is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Right. And then retail, Class A retail. There's about 1,000 malls in America. 250 of them or thereabouts are Class A. Class A value of malls down 45%.
Yeah.
The loans are going to blow up and they're going to go to special servicing. And I bring this up and I wanted to do it with you because as a residential person, right, my experience is REO agents, right? it was all onesie, twosie banks, all of that. But, I think opportunities are going to come from special servicing. I think it warrants networking with them,
Yes.
becoming the right answer. And I just think this is a term that maybe is whispered today, but will be screamed in 18 months. And I want to get ahead of it.
Yeah. Well, ironically enough, it's too bad we're not having this phone call tomorrow,
Yeah.
because I'm actually speaking with with a bank tomorrow about
Okay.
this very topic, to start this process of networking my way
Look at that.
into being the solution, right, for loans that go bad.
Yeah.
It can't, so obviously, the real pain has been in retail and hospitality, because those are the ones that have been, hit.
Mhm.
Hospitality directly, retail has been getting hammered for a while, and now this is,
Yeah.
COVID is really, another nail in the coffin. But you're right. There are some cities where multifamily has also been hit really hard, because people are just, they just got to get out of the city when there's nothing to do and
Mhm.
nowhere to go, and they need more space. So, that has definitely hit Manhattan. Interestingly enough, just in terms of New York City,
Mhm.
I was reading yesterday that that Brooklyn is doing very well
Yes.
right now, real estate wise. Manhattan is sucking wind, but Brooklyn is basically holding its value quite well, because that's where a lot of people are going, right,
Mhm.
from Manhattan, which is great, since I live in Brooklyn and I own in Brooklyn, so that makes me happy, because I was worried about the value of our place when this all started, but I mean, just anecdotally, like, we had a record sale in our building a
Oh,
couple months
wow.
ago.
Great.
So, so it continues unabated in Brooklyn, or maybe even
Can
there's
you
more tailwinds behind it.
just selfishly, I have a place in Queens. I mean, is
Yeah.
Queens sucking wind, or is it okay?
I It's not doing as well as Brooklyn.
Okay.
Let's put
I
it that
just
way.
wanted to
It's
ask.
not benefiting. Yeah, it probably also depends on where in Queens as
Astoria,
well.
I think. Is
Yeah,
Astoria?
Astoria is probably one of the places that's doing well, because it's right next to Manhattan. It's similar to Brooklyn in the sense it's really neighborhoody and green, and
Yeah.
like it's
Okay,
nice
cool. Yeah.
in Astoria. So I would bet that Astoria is probably one of the places that's benefiting from the exodus from Manhattan
Okay, cool.
as
Sorry.
well.
I
Yeah,
digress.
it's okay.
Yeah, but
So
the special servicing, I think first off, this is why you're good at what you do, because you're investing your time early with no guaranteed return. And I know you're going to do this dozens of times with special services, lunch, cocktail, network, help, whatever you can do.
well, it's all phone calls now, but
Well,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
that's where it starts, right?
yeah.
I mean, and you're doing it now, likely, for a yes answer, or even not a yes answer, the opportunity in 12 to 18 months, right? You're doing this early, which is, I just want to applaud you for. And it's why I wanted to talk today, because maybe some other folks could, pick this up and figure out who the special services are just at their banks.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you are looking to buy like right now, everybody believes that multifamily is, the safest asset in the world, and they're bidding
Ugh.
up the prices, right? And like it just like in the last recession, multifamily did better than every other real estate asset.
Mhm.
But that's because it didn't decline as much as everything else did.
Right.
And right now, what we have is, you know, a lot of capital pouring into multifamily, because where else are you going to go, right? And we're not yet seeing, although we may start, we may start to see a phenomenon where the hotel investors come back, because the prices of hotels have just gotten to be so attractive
Yeah.
that they know that this is a good bet to make, because vaccines are coming. People are going to want to, as soon as they can travel, people are going to want to start traveling. So if you can buy these assets for, 50 cents on the dollar
Or less.
or
Yeah.
less,
Yeah.
which it looks like you can
Yeah.
now,
Absolutely.
then some of the money is going to start flowing over there, right?
Yeah.
And the
Totally
same with
agree.
retail. I mean, people are going to, really savvy retail investors are going to say, okay, yeah, retail has taken a big hit, but it's not all retail. There's some retail that's done really well in the recession, because of COVID. There's some retail that has really proven itself in this event, and those assets are going to, they're going to be fine. There's also the ability to repurpose a lot of these assets, right?
Exactly.
So the retail assets or big box, I mean, big box to storage is a big thing. Big box to, experiential things is a big thing. Now, obviously that's COVID is a headwind for that, but that won't be forever either, right? So those kind of savvy investors are going to go back into those markets, and that'll pull some of the capital out of multifamily. But what's going to happen with multifamily, though, is there are going to be some operators who have to refinance, and with the declines they've had in occupancy and collections, they're not going to be able to refinance, and it's going to be quite difficult for them to do. So there are going to be foreclosures coming, even though the asset prices are very high. What that means is that if you can get your hands on these assets that are being sold in a distressed situation, you can probably turn around and sell them very quickly, or you're just getting, you're building in a lot of equity right away in these assets because there's still so much tension. So the way that you're going to go about doing this is go to your local bank and find out who the REO officer, the real estate owned officer is. Get to know them now.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And get to know before this happens, when everybody's going to be knocking at their door. Get to know them now, and demonstrate to them that you have the ability to close these deals, right? And so whatever your level is that you can do it at, if all you can do is come up with, $50,000 for the down payment on an asset, well, whatever that translates into, if that's a triplex or a quad or whatever, go look for those, right?
Exactly.
So because there's going to be some opportunity, and
yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to talk about. The opportunity is clear to me. The timing is a little fuzzy. It's it's probably a year out or so. But to your point, do your work early, because in a year's time, everybody will be there and they'll stop talking to people. Right now, not a lot of people are talking to them.
Yeah, it's a good time to talk to them, because right now with such a frenzy behind multifamily, nobody sees any trouble ahead.
Exactly.
For multifamily, right? So there's not, except for like in those areas that have been hit especially hard by COVID, like New York, et cetera. Even there, what we see is it's not everywhere. It's not all of New York City. It's Manhattan primarily, right? So
very cool.
Yep.
Well, Jonathan, thank you for this week. It's been a lot of fun. I just want to thank you for your time, and I'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely. I look forward to it every week.
Thanks, buddy.